Welcome to Public Sector Insight Week. I'm so glad you're here and I'm really excited to talk to you today. Today is about 5 ways to boost your innovation programme. That's 5 practical and pragmatic tips to help you. It's going to be 5 things that you can start implementing tomorrow to give you that boost. I'm Helen Dawson and I work with leaders of digital and innovation programs to help them spend those budgets more effectively, whether they're driving growth or efficiency or ESG goals. I've been there. I've spent my career driving transformational change, big, complex projects. But then I had my first taste of digital innovation. And I found that all those tools that I'd been using so effectively for years, somehow they didn't work anymore. And my colleagues were sceptical, resistant even. And I learned some lessons the hard way. Then, all was not lost. I got the chance to try again, and I built a team looking at new business models and digital transformation in Shell's mobility business. So that's 80 countries around the world and 45,000 petrol stations. So fact of the day, that's more than Starbucks and more than McDonald's. And I used everything I'd learned to make that a success. I've since gone on to work with a whole bunch of organisations, helping them avoid those obstacles and pitfalls that I fell into the first time around. So come with me and I'll talk to you about why progress doesn't always happen in a straight line and what you can do about it. I'm going to be hanging out in the comments section, a kind of live listening party, if you will. So come and join me over there. To get things started, while I put up the slides, why not let me know whether you're a cat person or a dog person. If you want to use an emoticon, then use the Windows key and the full stop sign. That should give you an emoticon menu. And we're going to use that chat function if you've got any questions, if you've got any comments, if you've got an experience that you want to share that would help the rest of the audience, that would be great. So come with me and we'll get cracking. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the challenge of innovation and we're going to talk about why it's tough. Then we're going to talk about 2 challenges, each with 2 tips. So the first is that the odds are stacked against you. The second is that the clock is ticking. And we'll talk about how to beat the odds, how to beat the clock. And then the final tip is all about next steps and how you could get started. So let's crack on. So innovation, it's tough. You know, maybe you're caught up in bureaucracy. Maybe the corporate antibodies are somehow out to get you. Your team doesn't have the right skills. You've got some targets for this year that are undeliverable. But you're a successful leader. You've got a track record. And innovation is one of the coolest jobs in the business. And yet you're stuck in second gear. So these are some of the reasons that innovation teams have given me as to why it's hard. And you can let me know in the comments if something resonates with you. Our budget's been cut to save costs. Senior leaders, they just don't get it. As a friend said to me, senior leaders, Helen, they never get it. The innovation team aren't allowed to talk to real people, customers. Our executives think they have the best ideas. I call these the hippos, the highest paid person's opinion. The mothership is too stuck in its ways to be innovative. It's like trying to turn around an oil tanker or change a dinosaur. People keep telling us it's never going to work. We've spent too much now. It can't fail. It's got to be a success. All the business teams, everyone's focused on short-term KPIs. No one wants to be innovative. Our IT team, are slow, they're expensive. Everyone doing the day-to-day out in the business, they resent our budget and our team. We tried it before and it didn't work. We can't deploy it because it's too scrappy. We need to wait till it's perfect. Why can't we just be more like a startup? And finally, my career might not survive this unless we can find a win. So don't put your hands up in the comment if that's you, but do come and connect with me on LinkedIn and have a chat about it. Your career is going to survive. So innovation is tough. So why is that? Well, the odds are stacked against you. How many ideas do you think it takes to find one commercial success? One thing that your organisation is going to think, yeah, that's a win. It's 300 to 500 raw ideas to find something that's substantially new, that's successful. Go and look at the literature. Alberto Savoia, Safi Bakul, they've all got great YouTube videos that talk about this. Older research from the late 90s suggests this might be even bigger, maybe 3,000 from a survey looking at patents. And it's industry dependent as well. So pharmaceuticals, for example, they might need significantly more starting ideas. So even when you've filtered out some of the things that obviously won't work, I don't know, tap dancing penguins or something, your chances of success are a fraction of a percent. And if you think that's only startups, well, I'm here to tell you that even big established organisations get this wrong. I'm not just talking about Blockbuster missing the boat with Netflix or Kodak inventing and then being disrupted by the digital camera. Coca-Cola's reformulation in the 1980s, disaster. Pepsi tried to make a clear drink, disaster. 90% of all new product introductions bomb and are rapidly withdrawn from the market. Same for Amazon, same for Google. If you think Google's immune, you can go and look on the internet and there's actually a Google graveyard of ideas that Google started and then abandoned. So why even bother? Well, because the outsized returns are really worth it. If you look around, you can see disruption happening everywhere, and your organisation knows it too. And that's why they want an innovation programme, and that's why talent like this audience is leading it. So what do you do to beat the odds? So the first takeaway, you need to find the right it. Those 300 ideas, you've distilled them down, maybe 100, 200, bit of a light exploration to something that you think, yeah, there's something in this. So I call this the right it. There's an ex-Google engineer called Alberto Savoia that coined this phrase, and he's written an excellent book. Go and look it up. You can't prioritise your way to the right it by looking at a spreadsheet. You need to learn by doing. You need an innovation approach where you can experiment and learn. The challenge is that the rest of your organisation is just not used to working in this way. They're used to a rinse and repeat, using techniques that work in the past, and it feels really countercultural to go and test and experiment. But your team needs to learn, and that means they need to experiment quickly and cheaply to find whether you have the right it. You'll notice I don't use the words fail fast. Lots of people are going to tell you to fail fast, that's innovation. I'm sorry, but no one wants to fail. And they certainly don't want to sacrifice their career for a perceived failure. But if you find out quickly and cheaply then that's not a failure. No one's going to call that a failure. Most of the time that technology will work, sure, it might be complicated, but your IT team's smart, they can figure it out. The bigger challenge is whether customers and citizens are going to use it. And sometimes it might be that you can deliver it, but not at a cost that's acceptable. But perhaps that's a matter of timing. And your tech team might be able to solve that for you. Loads and loads has been written about finding the right it. Books like The Lean Startup, Sprint, The Right It, they're great. And there's actually lots of other presentations in PSI Week that are going to help you with that as well. But there's more that I want to tell you about how to achieve this inside your organisation. So takeaway number one, find the right it. What does it feel like if you're doing this well? Well, your team's going to be finding ideas, but they're going to be killing them off quickly when they find they don't work. Sometimes you're going to do experiments and they're going to feel scrappy and they're going to feel almost embarrassing. But if they help you learn, then they're good enough. You might need to be brave. You might need to be brave frequently to explain why you're doing things differently. And perhaps you need to be protecting your team's ideas, planting a seed, let your team incubate and you protect them. Like gardening, this is an art, it's not a science. The pitfalls, spending weeks writing PowerPoint and business cases, getting bogged down in bureaucracy, and sometimes using other people's data. You can't know how many people are going to use a bridge by watching how many people swim to the other side. So, we're finding the right it. Is this enough? No, sadly not. Not only do you have to be working on the right it, but it also needs to be in an arena and of a potential size that your organisation is going to care about this. In corporate, if you're working in $1 billion revenue business, then your 10 million a year innovation isn't big enough. So I call this, is the juice worth the squeeze? Don't pour time and effort into something that your wider organisation is not prepared to support. If you want to get a crash course in what not to do, then CNN Plus was a very short-lived news streaming service. They sank $300 million into it, and it was killed off by its newly merged parent company less than a month after launch. How do you do this? Well, align on some themes and some arenas that your team is going to innovate around. Have some weak signals about what the future might look like. What if X happens? How might we respond? Does it sound like strategy work? Well, yes, it is. But it's really common for this piece of strategy to be missing. Instead, the strategy will contain something vague about let's be more customer-centric, or let's become digital first, or let's shift from products to services or services to products, but without really saying in what arena or in what ways. Don't worry if you leave good stuff behind. Strategy is all about making choices. Get comfortable with leaving those good ideas, because the best idea is the one that gets implemented. If you find further down the line it's the wrong it, kill it off quickly. Come back to something you left behind. So takeaway 2, make sure the juice is worth the squeeze. So the second thing to know is that the clock's ticking. Many corporate accelerator programs or transformation programs or innovation programs, whatever your organization is calling it, they get killed off. And they get killed off after about 24 months. Rita McGrath, a professor at Columbia University, talks about this. So let's think about that. Your initiative might not last beyond its second birthday. Why does that happen? Well, changes in leadership are frequent. This was brought home to me the other day when a friend posted on LinkedIn. She posted her 20-year work anniversary. In that time, she'd had 8 different jobs, but she'd had 15 different bosses. So each of those leaders are going to take stock, and if they don't get why you're doing something, they're going to start again. Cost cutting and budget cuts come all too frequently. And again, if leaders don't see the value, then innovation is the first thing to be sacrificed. And why does this matter? Well, there's a mismatch in the timing here. It takes around 7 years to build up a new business model into a revenue stream that is material for the organisation. And yet, we're kind of trained in business school or in business to be short-term focused. And this mismatch in expectation can cause even really promising opportunities to be killed off before they've reached their potential. So what do I mean by that? Well, even if you're doing everything right, if leaders don't understand the value, then your program is at risk. And you might think that you're the only one that's noticed that your program's stuck in second gear. But if others see these anchors that are holding you back, and if they can't see a clear way forward, then your organisation might cut its losses. So what do we do about it? So the first thing to say is that you can become great at storytelling. What does that mean? You explain the big picture while you're still experimenting on a really small scale. And you want to tell that story over and over again. People used to have to see an advert 7 times to buy that product. Now, with today's short attention spans and internet advertising and the permanent scroll, it's 30 times. So your colleagues just aren't going to get bought in if you talk about something once a year in an all-hands meeting. It's not enough. So keep telling that story upwards, downwards, and across the organisation. And you want your project sponsor to be telling the same story too. A couple of things to say. So, the customer is the hero of the story, but your difficult leader might need to be the sidekick that makes it all happen. If you're stuck, I like to use a sentence that says, we help X do Y by doing Z. So as an example, there's an Internet of Things product called a moo call. You attach it to a cow's tail, and it can tell by the way that tail swishes that the cow's about to give birth. Without it, farmers need to keep getting up in the middle of the night to check on their cows. So, we help X do Y by doing Z. We help farmers get more sleep during calving season by sending a notification to their phone when a cow's about to give birth. Try it on your own things and let me know how it works, or get involved in the comments. You also need to be educating and involving your organisation in what good innovation is all about. And day to day, nothing much will change, but over the months, you'll definitely see an impact from doing this. So, third takeaway, become great at storytelling. But in itself, that's not enough. Innovation is not an individual sport, it's a team sport. Think of it like football. Midfielder makes a tackle, they pass the ball, it's kicked into the box, it's headed into the back of the net. The whole team creates those winning chances and those goals. And collaboration is one of the key things to successful innovation. So takeaway 4 is that you need to collaborate and influence. And collaboration is not just about your team. It's about working with people that are not like you. You can create an ecosystem of partners, surround yourselves with diverse people inside and outside your organisation. Learn from startups, find opportunities to collaborate with your peers or big tech companies. Find ways to involve your colleagues in that ecosystem. If you choose an arena that's meaningful, the juice is worth a squeeze, then a startup challenge or a hackathon can be a great way of harnessing the energy of your colleagues to help your organisation innovate. You're going to need influence. Who do you know? What power do you have? Who can say yes? You'll find a lot of people that can say no, but who can say yes? And think about things like if your team has budget, that's power, that's leverage to work with others in your team. Or even better, if you can use budget from a tech company to help you innovate, that's great leverage. And have compassion for your colleagues. They're busy working the day to day. They don't get the luxury of thinking about the future. They're just protecting delivery of their own targets and their own performance. And be generous. What can you offer to the people that support you and help you? Your help will be reciprocated further down the line. Can you give them the opportunity to stand on the stage and share in this innovation journey? So, collaborate and influence, takeaway number 4. So, let's do a quick recap. So, we've talked about the odds being against you. Successful innovation ideas are a fraction of a %. But you can help yourself by finding the right it and finding something where the juice is worth a squeeze. We've talked about the challenge of the clock ticking. You only have maybe 2 years to really find something successful or that the organisation views as being successful. So become great at storytelling. Have a real powerful, snappy story to tell, like the Moo Call. And then think about collaboration and influence and how you can really work the advantages that you have to be more effective. But where do we get started to make that stick? What are the first next steps that you might want to take? So what are those next steps? You're fired. No, not really, but let's imagine it's your very first day leading innovation in your organisation. And you're going to spend that day writing a plan for how you're going to spend your energy over the next 2 to 3 months. So what does that look like? So build a plan, kill the wrong its. If you've set off with something that's the wrong it, drop it. And secondly, tackle those obstacles. The things that are getting in your way that we showed on that slide, the bureaucracy, the difficult colleagues, those obstacles are your to-do list of what you need to focus on to be effective. So improve your awareness. They're telling you what you need to navigate and where those risks are. And remember, you're not alone. Every organisation has a version of these challenges. It's sometimes useful to get a bit of external perspective to help you rethink your assumptions about the way that things work in your organisation. The obstacles are not immovable objects. Think of them as some sort of organisational muscle memory that needs to be retrained. You're taking those muscles for a workout and they're going to get stronger. So, my fifth recap is imagine you're fired. Start afresh. Take a step back and think about those obstacles as if you're an external person, or get an external perspective outside your team to help you with that. And remember, you're never alone. So thank you very much for listening today. Any questions, comments, we're going to hang around in the chat for a bit longer to let you share those. I'm Helen Dawson. I help digital innovation leaders reboot their programs so that they can make better use of those innovation budgets. If you want to know more, message me on LinkedIn. We can have a virtual coffee, use the QR code over there, and we'll stay online for a bit longer so that we can chat a bit further. Thank you very much.